I'm here
Hi.
on behalf of the museum, Maritime Museum of the Atlantic, to talk about single word concepts in Mi'kmaq language, which people often ask me about single word Mi'kmaq concepts. And I guess the best way for me to explain that is most of us have university degrees or whatever, advanced education, and we're always talking about theory and methodology in Western kind of approaches to study. Well, Mi'kmaq culture has the same theory and methodology, and that's language. Language is critical to understanding the Mi'kmaq worldview or perspective. So, single word concepts, like downstairs at the Museum of Natural History, you'll see Nadugalim. And that kind of sums up our responsibility, our relationship with environment, and how we sustain ourselves. And really basically means that um, take what you basically need from the land. You'll see another term often used is Tel-keknuo'ltiek, which is in itself is an interesting concept because, again, in Western culture, we'll commonly, when somebody says, "Oh, where were you born?" I was born in Sydney. I was born in Yarmouth or Halifax, or points of someplace in between. But the Mi'kmaq concept of that is a lot different. They were sort of born from this land, and you'll hear it with elderly people quite often. Um, I sprouted from. And again, that just illustrates the connection between people, culture, and their environment, landscape, etc. That relationship. There's another term you guys are using down at MMA. I can't pronounce it, and but nonetheless, what it means is how unique we are, and I think that's important when we're talking about Mi'kmaq culture because sometimes we kind of lump Mi'kmaq culture. We check boxes, we make it corporate, but we don't make an effort to understand the psyche of the culture and the people and what really makes Mi'kmaq people unique. And so when they're talking about their history and stuff and things, some of the messaging has to be very simple like that. And it's taken a while to kind of translate that into a reality, but people are now accepting it, and even at the higher levels of institution now, they're starting to recognize that there's Migma Theory. And I think that probably would have started with Albert Marshall and late Medina Marshall when they often spoke about two-eyed seeing. And it's just, I think it's a better fit for museum environments because you got to remember the history of museums, right? We're all rooted in the waning years of the 1800s, very Eurocentric type of practices. It's collecting and displaying, but when you're talking about Mi'kmaq culture, we're in the process of gallery renewal as well. So we have to remember that there's a living side, kind of animate, inanimate side of culture that's difficult to understand. And I'll give you a quick example. When you pick up a rock from an archaeological site, that's an animate object, but they're making it into a tool, so therefore it becomes living. The end result it's a cycle. And when you look at all these terms, these Mi'kmaq single word concepts, that's what they're really expressing is this continuation and this cycle of life. And we kind of, at one time in our displays, have kind of written Mi'kmaq culture off as being exotic, and still we've placed them in this realm of the disappearing culture, and that's not the case. We're still here. Mi'kmaq are still here, and it's still a very unique, very fluid culture, and that's why I think it's important to use all these terms. It's about Mi'kmaq continuation, about sprouting from this land, all my relations, and that applies to non-Indigenous people as well, because we're all brothers and sisters in some sense of the word. So that's what the culture talks about. That's what single word concepts do, is they express culture, I think, in very simple but effective terms that we all can share and understand. And that's, I think it's really relevant that we take that approach in our museum presentations and exhibits, and so it's happening. It's exciting.